Excellency, the Executive Governor of Cross River State, Senator Prince Pasi Edit-Otu, and will be represented very, very shortly by His Excellency, the Deputy Governor of Cross River State, Right Honorable Peter Ode. Please put your hands together for them. Thank you very much indeed. I'd like to also, of course, welcome very specially my Lord Honorable Justice Nkeruwem Obot. Please put your hands together for him. Put your hands together for me, Lord. Thank you very much. My Lord Honorable Justice Nkeruwem Obot, thank you so much indeed for joining us. I'd like to also welcome very specially the NAS Capone, Dr. Joseph Otiri, our international president. Thank you so much indeed. I thought you would clap better for the NAS Capone. That is the 001. Thank you very much. And let me also welcome very specially a very young, handsome gentleman, the NAS first mate, Dr. Kenechukwu Eneli, International Vice President. Thank you so very much indeed. I must say I enjoyed my time with you both on radio this morning. It was an amazing time. I'd like to also welcome very specially Right Honorable Dr. Eko Pasi. Put your hands together for him, please. Former member, House of Assembly. Thank you so much. I'd like to also welcome very specially all the NAS Exco members here present. Please, if you're here, can we see by raise of hand? All the NAS Exco members here present. Put your hands together for them. Thank you so much. And let me also welcome very specially Right Honorable Dominic Akwa Edem. Put your hands together for him. Right Honorable Dominic Akwa Edem, former NDDC member, former aspirant House of Representatives. Thank you so much indeed, Right Honorable Dominic Akwa Edem. Put your hands together for him. And let me also welcome very specially Chief Pasi Edem. Put your hands together for Chief Pasi Edem. For want of time, we may not recognize every dignitary seated, but of course, everyone in this hall is a dignitary. So put your hands together for yourselves. Chief Pasi Edem. I've just been informed that Chief Pasi Edem is the Chairman, Board of Trustees. We must recognize him, the BOT Chair. Please, where is he? He's not here? He's here. Thank you so much indeed, Chief Pasi Edem, for coming. And to all other dignitaries here present, I'd like to say good afternoon and welcome to the Metropolitan Hotel, venue for the 16th Ralph Opara Memorial Lecture. Has the theme Sink or Swim, Nigeria's Future and the Impact of Corruption on the Socio-Political Economy of Nigeria. Our keynote speaker today is a very revered legal luminary, Chief Okoye Okomobla, Esquire, former chairman of the Special Presidential Investigation Panel for Recovery of Public Property. Please put your hands together for him. Thank you so very much indeed. Having welcomed our distinguished guests, and of course, ladies and gentlemen, may I kindly request at this juncture that we rise as we give honor to our motherland, Nigeria. Let's take the national anthem. Please shall we rise. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, may I kindly request at this juncture that we rise as we give honor to our motherland, Nigeria. Let's take the national anthem. Please shall we rise. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, we have the national anthem. That we rise as we give honor to our motherland, Nigeria. Let's take the national anthem. your breast and see what this my dear, maybe. Thank you very much indeed for that national anthem. Our very distinguished guests, my lord, ladies and gentlemen, while the national anthem was being sung, our keynote speaker made his way into the hall. A man I respect so very dearly, a revered legal luminary. My lord, a man so many people think is controversial, but I say he's intelligent and hits the nail straight on the head. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, one more time, please put your hands together for Chief Okoy Ukulobla, or Paul Etangala one of Yakara. Straight on the head. Distinguished guests, ladies, thank you very much indeed, Chief. Put your hands together for him until he takes a seat. Thank you. Paul Etangala one. Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Welcome. I hope you had a good trip. Welcome, Chief. And so, my lord, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the stage is set. We're just about to begin. May I, at this juncture, take a quick break and introduce myself. My name is Fidelis Opara. I'm a 5.3.1 FM Calabar. I'm not your host or your moderator. I'm about to introduce your moderator. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the moderator for today's panel session is Miss Majesty Victoria Eke. Majesty is a charismatic and seasoned on-air personality with over 6 years of experience in radio broadcasting with expertise skill in event moderation and hosting. She's the voice over artist, a public speaker, and a presenter. And of course, she has an audience engagement and interaction personality. As a versatile and engaging host, she has moderated high-profile events, conferences, and award ceremonies, including red carpet events, organized seminars, and panel discussions with a witty and engaging stage presence, warm presence, and inclusive demeanor to make guests and audience feel at ease. My lord, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Majesty Victoria Eke, the moderator for the afternoon.
Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. My name is Majesty Victoria Eke. I work for Sparkling 92.3 FM Calabar, and I'm going to be your moderator. I will try to make my pace a bit slower so that you'll be able to catch up with all I'm saying today. Today, we're going to be having the highlight of the event, which is the panel discussion. Though our panelists are well seated up there, I will still do the honor to read out their biography slower so that you'll be able to catch up with all I'm saying today. Today we're going to be, please, if you have this in your hands, can you turn to page 10? There we have a brief biography of the discussant. And we're doing this because it's important for us to know the reason why we have carefully selected them to think on that very seat. Please, if you have this. I believe we are all on the same page. Are we all together? Okay, so firstly, I'm going to introduce a very powerful woman, and I call her powerful because I had the opportunity to sit in a space with her. This is the second time I'm meeting her in person. So welcome, Professor Grace Ruben Etu. She is a professor of industrial sociology. She obtained her first school living and O-level certificate from Urban School 2 and Girls Secondary School, Umuahia, Abia State. And later, she studied for her bachelor's, master's, as well as her doctorate degree at the Department of Sociology, University of Calabar, Cross River State. She's an experienced university lecturer, and not just a lecturer, she's a researcher in the fields of sociology and social work, whose career in the academia began over 2 decades ago. She first was employed as a graduate assistant in the Department of Sociology, University of Calabar. She rose through the rank and emerged as a full professor in the year 2020. She has participated in several conferences and research in areas such as industrial relations, organizational behavior, development, social problems, and gender issues. Currently, Professor Etuk has over 598 Google Scholar citations of her published work, with 2 of her texts translated in over 7 languages across the globe and on sales on Amazon. Apart from her membership of a number of academic and professional bodies, she is currently a visiting scholar to notable institutions such as the Naval War College of Nigeria and the University of Uyo. She has been an external assessor to Otto Jarvis University, Nigeria, as well as served as faculty member at the Southern California Seminary, United States of America. Additionally, she is a United Nations Peace Ambassador. Professor Etuk is currently the head of the Department of Social Works, University of Calabar, Nigeria. She is married and blessed with 3 children. Please, if your hands are not paining, do well to give her a round of applause. Personally, it is indeed good to see women strive and still maintain healthy marriages, even to the point of having children. That's an issue that society is a little bit, there's a little bit of argument about balancing work, career, marriage, and also kudos to her for doing all 3. Now we're moving on to the next discussant, and I'm going to read the profile of Richard Enoyo. He is a country director, Citizen Solution Network, a pan-national initiative aimed at promoting citizens' justice, liberty, and equality, along with sustainable and fair socio-economic development of Nigeria. He is a public policy and research fellow at Partnership for African Social and Governance Research, headquarters in Nairobi, Kenya. Policy foundation, infrastructure, and application in addressing problems affecting citizens and community. He currently sits on the board of several regional and international institutions and corporations. He's currently pursuing his postgraduate studies at the University of Lagos School of Postgraduate Studies with academic interest in policy science and governance ethics. It is of truth that learning never ends. Please, a round of applause for Richard Enoyo. Yes, thank you very much for that. Moving on, we are also going to be reading a brief biography on Professor Enang Basi Uda. So I want to first confirm that I'm pronouncing it right. So, okay, so I can continue. He's a professor of economics in the University of Calabar's Department of Economics. He has been an academic staff of the university for over 2 decades and has served as a lecturer, researcher, and administrator. He served the University of Calabar in various capacities as Departmental Examination Officer, Head of Department of Economics, Dean of Student Affairs, and currently Dean on Faculty of Social Science, as well as member of University of Calabar Governing Council. He has served many other universities in Nigeria and abroad as an external examiner at both undergraduate and postgraduate level, assessor for professional promotion, as well as conference editor of Nigeria Economic Society in 2016 and 2018, respectively, as well as council member of Nigeria Economic Society from 2016 to 2020. In community service, Professor Uda has served as consultant to various local and international organizations, including Cross River State Government, EU STRIP, NUMAP, Tuning African Project sponsored by European Union in collaboration with African Union. Professor Uda has conducted extensive research in the areas of macroeconomic and governance issues. He has over 30 publications in referred local and international journals, including book chapters and commission technical reports. Please, a round of applause for a man with so little but very impactful biography. Yes, and moving on to our very last panelist. Yes, she is a journalist. That is eye-catching, because when you see veterans, people that have experience in journalism, something that's what I'm looking up to is indeed that you give them the accurate respect that they deserve. Yes, I'm talking about no other person than Comrade Ime of Young. She is our fourth journalist, and she will be representing or replacing Comrade Archibald Bassi, who couldn't be here due to some certain circumstances. Please let's give a round of applause for her. Yes, having read the biographies of our four panelists, it is obvious that one person's skills remain there that we haven't paid attention to. And he is the keynote speaker. He is the keynote speaker for today's event. And before the mic was handed over, I had a lot of accolades attached to his name. But he forgot one. He is a versatile learner. It's impossible for you to have him in any area and aspect of life and not have him something to say. Be it on an interview, be it in a one-on-one conversation, be it anywhere, he always has something to give to the young ones, even to the older people. So yes, I'm going to allow Mr. Fidelis do the honors of reading the biography of the keynote speaker.
Thank you so very much indeed. As such, we'll put your hands together for our moderator. She's done a great job so far. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. I'd like to recognize very quickly before we move forward to reading the citation of our keynote speaker, my very wonderful friend and brother, a young Cross-Riverian making Cross-Riverians proud, the son of the soil from Boki local government area, the senior special assistant to the governor in youth mobilization, Dr. Julius Gijo is right here. Put your hands together for him. Thank you. Thank you so much indeed. My Lord, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the citation of our keynote speaker is quite a lengthy one, and I would like to add, I'm sure if they added everything about him, we'll probably have 10 pages of the citation here. But let's just take a few of the things we have on pages 8 and 9. Please turn with me to pages 8 and 9 if you have the program. Are we there? Thank you very much. Brief profile of our keynote speaker, Obol Okoy of Obongobla, Esquire. Obol Okoy Obongobla is an astute professional, lawyer, crusader for good governance, and protector of the people's commonwealth. Okoy, who hails from Letangkom Kingdom in Ugep, Yaka local government area of Cross River State, was born in Jos, Plateau State of Nigeria. Obongobla is a traditional ruler in his capacity as the Obol Kipun, head of patrilineal clan, and the village head of Letangkom Kingdom in Ugep, Yaka local government area of Cross River State since the year 2009. Education. Obongobla attended St. Andrew's Primary School, Shibori, Ogoja, Marinol College, Okuku, Yala local government area, and the Federal School of Arts and Science, now Federal Science College, Ogoja, for his primary and secondary education, as well as the University of Jos and the Nigerian Law School, Lagos, for his undergraduate and professional training. Obongobla holds a Merit Award, Master's Degree, LLM, in International Business Law from the prestigious University of Liverpool, United Kingdom. As a consummate professional, Obongobla has 34 years of solid legal practice in civil litigation, human rights, constitutional law, aviation, election petition, litigation, and commercial law. Co-founder and principal counsel and head of the law firm and consultant with branches in Abuja, Calabar, and Cross River State. He has appearances in the Supreme Court of Nigeria, Court of Appeal, Federal High Court, States, and
right about this moment and permit me to welcome. So for the opening address, the NAS Capo, no other person than Joseph, Dr. Joseph Terry.
Thank you so much. His Excellencies, the Governor of Plateau State, represented by Deputy Governor, Attention right now. Our Reverend Guest of Honor, Mrs. Francisca Opara, who is currently in transit. Chief Basi Edem, our head of Board of Trustees. Distinguished Keynote Speaker, oh boy, I'm sure when I started, I asked that first one is Chief. So Chief Ogono, I think I'll just end there. Then did you discuss Professor Etu, Mr. Inoyo, Professor Uda, Comrade Ophium, Lord Spiritual and Temporal, Moderator Victoria Eke, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen. It is with great pleasure that I welcome you all to this event of the 16th Opara Memorial Lecture, dedicated to honoring the memory of one of Nigeria's most outstanding and enduring broadcasting icons, late Raf Chukwuemeka Opara MON, in recognition of Raf Opara's lifetime of achievement. The Raf Opara Memorial Lecture series was instituted by the National CDOX 2004 to immortalize the icon Raf Opara and to keep his faith alive by providing a medium to give vent to the views of which he stood steadfast throughout his life. Like the previous Raf Opara Memorial Lecture series, this 16th lecture in the series is designed to facilitate the continuous charting the course of humanity towards the attainment of an egalitarian and just society. Raf Opara was one of the original 7 founders of the National CDOX in the academic year of 52-53, along with his co-adventurers, Professor Rishenka Payosolege, Professor Olumiwa Awe, Mr. Ike Mokwede, Engineer Nathaniel Oyinola, and Sylvanus Ebuche. The theme of today's lecture is Nigeria's future and the impact of corruption on the socio-political economy of Nigeria. There is no saying that corruption has dealt a huge blow to Nigeria and Nigerians, negatively affecting the life of the citizens. In accordance with the objective of the Opara Memorial Lecture, today's lecture and the 2025 series is specifically dedicated to opening discussions and finding answers to this topical socio-political economic issue that has the potential of lightening Nigeria's future and development strategy. We look forward to listening to a collection of eminent thought leaders and some of the best minds and scholars in our midst today to critically examine the issue and dissect the problem, as well as provide solutions. We are grateful to our keynote speaker and guest, Chief Ogono Obla Esquire, a distinguished legal practitioner and former chairman of the Special Presidential Investigation Panel for Recovery of Public Properties, SPIP. Our social work expert, Professor Grace Etu, Professor Enang Basi Uda, a renowned economist, Mr. Richard Noyo, a public policy fellow, and our Comrade Ophium, who continue to fight for the people, our moderators for today, and Umo Owen. It is absolutely an honor to have these great minds come together to discuss this critical topic of the state of our nation, nation's struggle and reforms. Ladies and gentlemen, please accept our warm welcome to today's event. Please sit back, relax, and enjoy this promising great telecast. Once again, you are most welcome to the 16th Opara Memorial Lecture.
I'm sure we can do very, very better than that. Thank you very much for that well put together address. I was very happy to hear my name inside. I think I'll go and screenshot it and be like I was acknowledged. Yes, we are going to unfortunately skip the remark from the Ralph Opara's family because they're not here. But once they get here, we'll definitely get them to give us their remark because it's important for us to understand that the reason why we gather is to celebrate charting a just society. And it wouldn't have been possible if one man had not made that step to put it all together. And we need to also remember that whatever we're going to discuss about here, it has each and every one of us involved in it. It is not something strange, neither is it new to our hearing, but it's important that we continue to change our nature one conversation at a time. So without any more or further delay, allow me to welcome the keynote speaker for his keynote address. I'm talking about no other person than Chief Okoye Obonobla Esquire.
I'm a very unconventional person, so I may not do the traditional Nigerian greetings. Even though I'm a traditional ruler, I think I'm on the radical left. That is why I identify with the National Association of Sea Dogs. And I will urge everybody to join. And then you study how to be a patriot, how to be unconventional, how not to be a tribal person, and all the he's that are responsible for Nigerian backwardness. So it's a pleasure that I've been invited to talk about, to discuss corruption. I have been an active advocate against corruption in Nigeria since 1991. I have been an activist. I have fought corruption before I was appointed into government. And I went into APC, joined firstly Buhari's party, because when we were young, Buhari was head of state. And he fought corruption that time, no doubt, squarely. A lot of corrupt people were sentenced to 50 years imprisonment. But today I will advocate for death penalty so that we'll end corruption or reduce it so we can make progress, so that Nigeria can make progress. I was appointed chairman of the Special Presidential Investigation Panel out of a compromise. Ruthman Meshi called me one day and said, look, Opara, myself, Rufai, Yaya Bello, John Oyegu, we went to see acting President Yemi Osibanjo, and we told him that the war against corruption was not going on well. That time, I was senior special assistant to the president on prosecution in the office of the Honorable Attorney General of the Federation and Minister for Justice. So he said we suggested to acting President Yemi Osibanjo that you should head the ICPC. The chairman of ICPC was Ntaipo, is my brother from Akwa State. So he told me that I was going to replace him as acting chairman because his tenure had not run out. So, but later, after about 5 days or so, the acting president invited me to his house in the villa, and we had a discussion, and he said, oh, Obla, you are not a bright person, but we are not going to send you to ICPC because Dr. Bukola Saraki will fight you in the Senate. I had a brush with Olusola Saraki in 2016. When we came to government, we didn't want the Saraki to be the Senate president. We wanted the Senate president from the northeastern part of the country. But somehow the party didn't manage it well. And Saraki, being a Buccaneer, one of the Nigerian Buccaneers, he managed to, to outwit the government and the party. So we filed forgery charges against him when we discovered that he manipulated the Senate rules to become a Senate president, and the deputy Senate president was Ekweremadu. So we charged him to court, and as I said before, I was in the office of the Honorable Attorney General of the Federation. The Senate now summoned the Attorney General that he should come to the Senate to explain why Saraki and Ekweremadu should be charged to court. So I was asked to go and represent the Attorney General in the Senate committee, the Committee on Human Rights and Judiciary that was hearing the matter. And I took an excuse, and the matter was adjourned for 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, I went back. All the senators said, oh, they were not going to hear me, that they want to see the Attorney General personally. So I left the Senate committee room. When I came out, all the press people ran to me. And then they asked me a couple of questions. I told them that under the Nigerian Constitution, the only person or persons who are immune from criminal proceedings are the president, the vice president, the governors, and the deputy governors. And the next day, throughout the media, what I said was a blazing lies. So the Senate was very angry with me. They said, this man, that is how I became a marked man in Abuja, to the extent that the president nominated me to be the non-executive commissioner in NCC, Nigerian Communication Commissions. And I was to pass through Senate confirmation hearing. I went, and but I came out tops. The committee that screened me and recommended my confirmation. I was confirmed, surprisingly. But later on, 3 senators from my state and 1 former governor, they went to Dr. Bukola Saraki and said, Obla, I don't know Obla. That is a radical. That is the person who wanted to send you to prison. So Bukola Saraki wrote to Buhari that I was not confirmed. And it was a lie, because if you go through the media of 17th November 2016, you will see that I was confirmed. And the proceedings for the day in the Senate show that I was confirmed. So when I went to start work as chairman of the special presidential panel, I was already a marked man. 2 months after I was appointed, they wanted to remove me. And the Attorney General, who was very ambivalent in the fight against corruption. And my friend, we were in the same law office for 5 years in Abuja. He was in the forefront, on the investigations to remove me, because they know that I will not bend. Maybe they didn't know that I was a sea dog. I'm a sea dog. Yes. And it is not just being a sea dog. That was the training we received. The sea dogism is not about we'll say we are cultists. We are not cultists. We are committed Nigerians. And I believe if a sea dog takes to that country, this country will take to the better. Yes. So I will now go to my paper, the future of Nigeria. Well, some people are saying that in the next 50 years, we are going to be a world power. Or an economic power, we have a young population that is very innovative, that is very dynamic. I'm not an economist, maybe Rosuda will throw more light into that. All the development experts and economists are up making that projection. But I hope it's not going to fail like what we were hearing in the 1950s, 1960s, 1970s, that Nigeria is a potential world power. Because we were ahead of Singapore. We were ahead of Brazil. We were ahead of Turkey. We were ahead of Taiwan. You know, but now they have gone 200 years ahead of us because of corruption. So the forces that will be play out in the next 50 years or thereabout, economic growth, demographic growth or trends, people are projecting that in the next 50 years, we are going to be about 337 million people. We are going to, be one of the most populous countries in the world. Maybe about we will be about 7 or 6 position. So it will also it will play a role in shaping Nigeria's future. Technological advancement, we are doing very well in the digital economy. Nigerians are very brilliant, hardworking, and intelligent people. So the technological advancement will also play a role in shaping Nigeria's future. Security is very bad. You cannot have good security in a country where corruption reigns supreme. Corruption, terrorism, human trafficking, arms trafficking, all of them have a role to play in shaping a country's security. In a corrupt country like Nigeria, you have security challenges. There's no doubt about it. Then opportunities in the agricultural sector. So many opportunities for Nigeria to become a world power in food production. And so, what is corruption? What is corruption? Corruption is simply if you don't do things in a normal way. And we have a penchant for not doing things the normal way. When I was chairman of the panel, I addressed a press conference in Abuja, threatening that I will take over all the estates in Abuja that people are not living in. If you go to Abuja, you see a lot of estates that people are not living in. Those estates were built with money from the public purse, money laundering. So people just build houses and they don't live there. So I addressed a press conference. I will take over those buildings and sell them. But let me tell you, the reaction of the APC leadership will shock you. Then it was John Oyegun who was national chairman. He summoned me. Say, "Oh, you need a fear." I said, "Chairman, what can I do?" He said, "You want to sell people's houses? You want to sell people's houses?" I said, "Yes, sir. So I will sell them. People are not living there. Let's sell those houses to poor people so they will have shelter." He said, "Hobla, oh, you want to kill us?" The vice president too confronted me. "Hobla, you want to sell people's houses?" I said, "Why not? These are proceeds of corruption." You can imagine, for a government that says want to fight corruption. One of the persons, one governor in the southeast, from the southeast presently, he was given $12.5 billion to dredge the Calabar Channel. The Calabar Channel is very shallow. So they needed to dredge the channel so that we can have big vessels coming from the Atlantic Ocean to access the Calabar ports and contribute to the economic growth of the South, and Southeast region. Because a lot of importers from the Southeast go to Lagos. And Lagos is so congested. But that man mindlessly took that money, $12.5 million, and put in his pocket. He told his governor. And I didn't know that they were preparing him to be governor. And foolishly, I was investigating him. I wanted to arrest him. He ran away. So one day, I saw him in the airport. We were on the same flight. So I called my director of operation. I said, "I've seen no Mao in the airport. please, you people should go to Abuja airport, wait for him and arrest him. So when we arrived at Abuja, as we were walking out of the arrival hall, I saw my boss. I just pretended as if I didn't know them. Then I put off my phone because I know there will be a lot of calls. And there were a lot of calls, they couldn't get me. We became very friendly with the Attorney General. He comes to the General's office every day. And they say, Obungobla, he's stubborn. So since he's stubborn, we will deal with him. And today he's governor of Imo State. $12.5 million. You can convert that. Yes, these are the kind of elites we have in Nigeria. Bankrupt elites, visionless elites. So, a lot of people have described that the corruption of Nigeria. One of them, the former prime minister, says Nigeria is fantastically corrupt. He was talking about Nigeria and Afghan. So, and then another person says, who is a pathologist? You know what pathology is all about, those of you who are in the sciences. Pathology, one scholar who says Nigeria is pathologically corrupt. And then me, myself, I describe Nigeria as endemically corrupt. You know the meaning of endemic. If you are in the sciences of biology, you should know what endemic means. Then a psychologist says Nigeria is compulsively corrupt. You know what psychology? Psychology study, human behavior. So if you are compulsively corrupt, that means you are sick. Yes, because of the money people take. You begin to wonder if we are not, compulsively corrupt. We recover, or I didn't recover, they recovered $2 billion, 850 million gold bars from the house of a former minister in Jonathan's government in Wuse, in Abuja. But that money was eaten by snakes. So when I was chairman, one Major General, Adamo Yusuf, wrote a petition to me. He said, look, I've gone to ICPC, I've gone to EFCC. Nobody is ready to investigate whether that money was returned to the coffers of the federal government. $2 billion and 850 million gold bars. So I commenced the investigation. I interviewed 7 persons. And fingers were pointing at the chief of staff, the President Buhari, Abakari. May so rest in peace. So I didn't know what to do. I can't go to the villa to arrest the chief of staff. The petitioner had alleged that money was not declared, that he only declared 350 million gold bars. 2 billion was not declared, $2 billion, and the other about 500 million gold bars. At that time, I was so frustrated. I wanted to resign. I told my friend Osito Okechukwu, who was DG Voice of Nigeria. We were in CPC together. I said, look, I'm going to leave this job. Osita said, look, Buhari will not be happy. I said, no, there's no support from government. When I was doing this job, Osibanjo told me it is a last-ditch effort against corruption in Nigeria. But the government is not supporting me. The Attorney General is not happy with me. He has frustrated everything I want to do. Let me go. So since I said, look, be patient, I will pass this information to somebody who is close to the president. The president will invite you. The president invited me. I sat down with him. He didn't want Abakari to be around him. Two of us, I briefed him for what I've been doing. And then he told me, Opara, go and do your work. As I was coming out of his office, his ADC, Colonel Abubakar, accosted me and said, look, Opara, all these people in the villa are against you. So what you do, if you want anything you send to Mr. President to get to him, don't pass through the normal channel. Send it to me. I will pass it to Mr. President. I believed him. So I prepared 2 memos. One was on the $2 billion that disappeared and the 850 million gold bars. The second one was on Emefiele, the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, who had recommended somebody who was the managing director of a certain company in the Nigerian financial sector. We were investigating 38 trillion naira that was collected from commercial banks. Commercial banks collected this money and do not remit to the Federation account, 38 trillion. I'm talking about 2017. And that man was recommended to be appointed deputy governor of the central bank. Yes. So I wrote those memos. I said, Mr. President, this man that has been recommended to you is under investigation. And I gave it to Colonel Abubakar. Colonel Abubakar kept it for 1 month. One day he called me, Opara, let's see the villa. So I went. He said, Opara, these 2 things you have given me, they are odd. Please leave those 2 issues. Do other investigation. I believe he must have shown the document to Abakari because one of the members, I had suggested to the president that he should allow us to arrest Abakari to come and tell us about the $2 billion and the 850 million gold bars. So I became a marksman. Yes, I became a marksman. So the corruption industry in Nigeria, it's an industry. Transparency International consistently have rated Nigeria as one of the most. Yes. The EFCC told us recently that 1.1 trillion was stolen in Nigeria between 2015 and 2022. I disagree. In my own projection, during the Buhari's tenure, over $500 billion was stolen. And I said this in an interview with a song. If you go to the net, you will see the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics says that corruption is costing us approximately $9.5 billion yearly. So if you put that together with some other economic indicators, other economic indicators talk about our GDP per capita, the unemployment rate, poverty. Nigeria is today rated as a poverty capital of the world. And then you look at the agriculture, everything is in the paper, oil and gas, and then we'll go down to the socio-political economy of Nigeria. The political economy of Nigeria refers to the interconnected study of social, political, and economic factors that shape the country, society, and economy. So if you match that, then you go to all the challenges that we are being confronted with, the kind of political system we operate, which is the federal system. We have 36 states. We have two dominant parties, PDP and APC. And let me go to the impacts of corruption. That is why Nigeria is not making progress, like we are stagnated. Just last week, we were told that the former Minister of Petroleum, Alison Madueke, that some monies were recovered from her, I think up to $55 million US. So convert that to Naira, the current rates. If that money is given to some of the federal universities that have dilapidated infrastructure, those universities will turn to, be converted to, good schools like Harvard University and so forth and so on. Somebody taking it and putting it in our pockets. So the impact of corruption is enormous in Nigeria. And the impact is also negative on the socio-political economy. Its corruption causes economic instability. It discourages foreign investment. Nobody wants to come to Nigeria to invest. Even our court system. In 2017, I was on Channel TV and I made the allegation that I filed 10 appeals in the Supreme Court of Nigeria in 2008. That was 2017, that those appeals have not been heard. And the former Chief Justice of Nigeria, Honorable Justice Onogen, who thought, maybe he thought I was lying or I was trying to scandalize the judiciary. He asked the Chief Registrar of the Supreme Court of Nigeria to write a letter to me, asking me to enumerate those appeals I have in the Supreme Court that were not heard. And I listed 10 appeals with their suit numbers, and they didn't write to me again up thereafter. So a country where if you file an appeal, the appeal will be or stay in the Supreme Court for 15, 20 years because of corruption, because the registry of the courts are very loud, disorganized. So sometimes if you are a litigant, you have to give bribe before you appeal in the Supreme Court can be listed. So why would foreign investment come into Nigeria? If you come into the country to invest and your investment gets entangled, and you want to go use litigation to get back your investment, and you go to court and you stay in court, maybe in the High Court for 5 years, in the Court of Appeal for 5 years, and then you go to the Supreme Court. Your appeal stays there for 15 years, 20 years. Who would like to invest in that type of country? So this is one of the impacts of corruption on Nigeria. Inequality and unemployment. Yes, if you go to Maitama, just visit Maitama, or Asokoro, or Guzape, if you see the houses there, you think that you are in the US, not Nigeria. And then go to one slum in Kano, or Lagos, or Calabar, and you see the abject poverty, and the lack of infrastructures, lack of electricity supply and water. And then you're wondering, what is happening? What am I seeing? This is the inequality we see that flows from corruption in Nigeria. Underdevelopment, yes. If you go to some parts of Nigeria, you see underdevelopment at the highest peak. Who shouldn't be a country as rich as Nigeria potentially? Loss of government revenue. Corruption in Nigeria has resulted in staggering losses of government revenue, impacting the ability to fund essential public services. For instance, in 2012, a report by the chairman of EFCC estimated that Nigeria lost approximately $35 billion over a decade due to the discrepancies in revenue from the Nigerian liquefied natural gas project compared to international market prices. During my 10 years as chairman of the Special Investigation Panel for Recovery of Property, I uncovered various instances of naked corruption. I raided the warehouse belonging to a director in the Federal Ministry of Works, who had become a secret cow in Abuja because all the anti-corruption agencies were aware of the fact that he was compulsively corrupt, he was pathologically corrupt, he was endemically corrupt, he was fantastically corrupt, and they did nothing. When my boss went to the warehouse, they found 88 Mercedes-Benz car, brand new, S-Class, armored, a director in the Federal Ministry of Works. And there's so many houses and farms, documents showing that he has so many houses and farms. And we went to the Federal High Court to obtain an order of official pending our investigation. I wrote to the DG of Nigerian Customs, said, look, let him tell us how much this man paid to bring these vehicles into Nigeria. The DG of Customs didn't have any records. I also wrote to the executive chairman of Federal Inland Revenue Service to find out how much this man is paying per year as tax, and there were no records. So I seized all those vehicles. But after I was removed, the former Attorney General Malami handed back all those things I recovered from the man. Yes. Let me tell you about a sea dog. He has passed away because we have to say everything about some people who should be in the forefront in the fight against corruption. That man was a professor, and he was a member of the Presidential Advisory Committee Against Corruption. If you read my paper, you see his name. He called me on phone that I should come to his house in Wuse. And he was aware of the fact that I'm a member of the National Association of Sea Dogs. So I went. When I got to his house, I thought he was going to support my efforts. He told me, Obla, you are too radical. After he gave me a bottle of whiskey. And I said, Prof, to fight corruption in Nigeria, you have to be radical. If you are not radical, you cannot fight corruption. I said, you cannot. Then he told me, look, do you know a lady permanent secretary in the Federal Ministry of Defense? I said, yes. I told him she is under my investigation. He said, oh, Black, that is why I told you are too radical. Look, you have to give that lady a soft landing. I said, why, sir? He said, oh, the husband was a former minister in Obasanjo's government from Kano. And that lady is well connected. I taught her in Ahmadu Bello University. If you continue to investigate her, you will get into trouble. I said, Prof, I told him, Prof, if I stop this investigation, they will accuse me of collecting bribe. I said, but you know what? I have requested for an asset declaration form because with the allegation against her was that she bought a house for 800 million naira in the name of her 10-year-old son. I said, so I want to see what if she declared this property when she was filling her asset declaration form. So I left. 5 days thereafter, I was suspended. I also, some Nigerians are very good. Somebody has given me electronic records of Nigerians who have 1,000 houses in Dubai, United Arab Emirates. Government security agencies didn't have. They were just talking about Nigerians having properties in Dubai. So the guy gave it to me. He's in Nigeria. He used to work with FBI of the United States. So I also started investigating. I just want to tell you the hypocrisy of the Nigerian elites. After the APC used fighting corruption as a base to win in 2015, the APC was not ready to fight corruption. And that is one of the reasons why I was suspended, because I was not going to touch all the untouchables. So the first time in the history of Nigeria, 1,000 houses in Dubai belonging to Nigerians. Also, let me give you another example how the bankrupt Nigerian elite is. When Obasanjo was president, he monetized everything, housing and other fringe benefits. Houses that were built with government money were sold to some people in Abuja. But some houses were left to be national monuments. The residence of the Senate President, the residence of the Speaker of the House of Reps, the residence of the Deputy Speaker of the House of Reps, the residence of the Deputy Senate President, and the Chief Justice of Nigeria. Those houses were not supposed to be sold. But during Jonathan's period in office, those houses were sold. Demi Bankole, who was Speaker, he had his house. David Mark, Kasinalu, who was Chief Justice of Nigeria. They got those houses with peanuts. Yes, paying peanuts. So I was bent on recovering those houses. Then all the Senate, the House of Reps, all of them started fighting me. I was persecuted. And because I also discovered all of them have properties in UK. All of them, I can mention them. All of them had properties in UK, including Ike Ekweremadu. All of them. And I was working with the National Crimes Authority of UK so that we can recover those properties, those assets. Because under a certain regulation in the UK, if you have a property that is more than £50,000, you must disclose where you got the money to acquire the property. So I was working with the UK authorities. And I've gone very far with the investigation. before I was suspended. When I was suspended, Balami said that I did 500 cases that they didn't authorize me to investigate. I was appointed under a law, Public Officers Special Provisions Act. That law was enacted by Buhari. Unfortunately for us, that law was not repealed. And that was a law that which I was appointed. And that law enumerates the responsibilities of the panel. But they wanted me to be taking instructions from them. The vice president then, so the chief of staff wrote me a letter when I wanted to investigate 10 billion naira that was stolen from National Health Insurance. I got documents, the money was taken up in 2 tranches. And then they reported me. They always go to their godfathers, say, Opara wants to investigate us. The first thing that I had was a phone call from somebody who says he's the chief dictator, Mr. President. He said, oh, look, Opara, the president is not happy with you. That time, the President Buhari had returned back from UK. The president is not happy with you. I said, what did I do? He said, that case, National Health Insurance, we have done the investigation. Why are you going there again? He said, look, give me all the documents you have. He gave me an email. So I discussed with my wife. My wife said, look, I don't think that is the chief dictator to the president. So I asked one former military police officer who was working with me. I asked him, I gave him the number of the man. I said, check. After 2 days, I got a query from the deputy chief of staff to the president. I gave my the query me, said, Ms. Opara, you have to explain who mandated you to investigate the missing step of the stolen 10 billion naira. Of course, trust me, I replied, I am not answering to the vice president. By virtue of my office, I can investigate the president, the vice president, anybody. So I do not need a mandate from the vice president. Investigate the office. So I also give him a mandate now. He asked the former vice president. They said I have to do it. Well, my letter is there. I read it on the net. But some Nigerians are very patriotic. One of them is Chief. In 2017, there was supposed to be a plant in Dupani, here in Cross River State. And the contract was awarded during Obasanjo's time to a foreign company. That company did nothing absolutely. But they took Nigeria to the International Commercial Court of Arbitration in London, claiming that Nigeria breached the contract she had with them, and claiming about $7 billion. You know, if you are in government, you see the carelessness, the lackadaisical attitude. That is also corruption. The people are not committed. The civil servants are not committed. They are not dedicated. You know, so nobody paid attention to that proceedings in London, and the court awarded about $11 billion against Nigeria. So I met Bayojo in the airport. He was aware of the fact that I was in the Attorney General's office as an advisor. That what they want to do to the Nigeria is against my conscience. So I refuse to sign the judgments. Chief Bayo Ojo SAN, he refused and opted out of the proceedings. He said, look, there is no law that these people are relying on to award damages against Nigeria. But because Nigeria is a lousy country, they want to award judgment so that some people will benefit. Tell the Attorney General that he should file a motion in the High Court of London to set aside that judgment. It is wrong. The judgment is wrong. It was December, Christmas period. I was coming to Calabar to enjoy my Christmas here. As soon as we resumed in January 2017, I wrote a memo to the Attorney General on what Bayo Ojo has told me. But they dilly-dallied as usual. That matter was dead. They didn't file the motion until that company went and attached Nigerian property, monies belonging to Nigeria. It was then they aroused from their laziness to fight against that judgment. And a lot of money was spent to pay the lawyers. Eventually, that judgment was set aside. So Nigeria is a paradox. The likes of Bayo Ojo and also Professor Femi Odekunle, who was trying to, ask me to compromise an investigation of a lady permanent secretary who bought property in Asokoro for 800 million naira in the name of a yes son. Thank you so much.
Please, another round of applause. I'm sure with this, we should close. We can say the closing prayer, don't you agree? But with this, you still have questions, I think you should send it on Twitter or X. But because it is mandatory for us to have this conversation, we will move straight to the conversation for the day. And with the theme, Sink or Swim, Nigerian Future and the Impact of Corruption on the Socio-Political Economy of Nigeria. I don't know how we got to the crossroad where we either have to think or swim, but I hope at the end of this conversation, we are able to find a solution. Please permit me to join the senior dogs up there. Of all seats, please, I would like to sit close to the keynote speaker. Maybe I can get 1 or 2 tips. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We move straight to business of the day. Yes, it is true that corruption has eaten deep into Nigeria. And it's not just about saying what we say, but also the ability to do what we do in fixing it. There has to be a way forward. Together with my panelists, because I really do not know what I want to say to you, I'm sure they do, we will be able to chart ourselves into having a solution for our country. And not just leaving the solution to stay here, but also taking it beyond the doors to do what we do best. So let's move straight to the question. I want to ask the keynote speaker, even after all these lectures and all this, how did we get to the point where we either sink or swim? Should it be that a lot has happened in times that has made Nigeria get to the point where we can't move forward and we can't move backward? or just to the fact that it has eaten so deep to the point that we do not have reliable people to move us forward, so we are that stagnant?
Well, the Nigerians too have to change. Look, after I was brutalized on phantom charges, when I finished my service, I did my access declaration. Gave it to my spouse. Me. I said property. We can't, and I was supposed to save money, and I bought the land in Calabar to build a house. Later, I also built a house to get where I come from. And I said, look, this is what I have. This is what I declared. And after 3 years in government and heading a panel that if I had compromised with them, I would have been one of the richest Perseverance today, or even Nigerians. I would have been, but I didn't. But you know what? When I returned to Ugep, my brothers, all of them were angry with me. Some of them, I was arrested by ICPC, detained for 21 days. They didn't talk to me. They said I didn't enrich them. When I wanted to go to the Senate in 2022, under APC, we founded APC before the Buccaneers infiltrated APC and took it over from us. All of them, my opponents were saying, look, Opara is good, but he doesn't have money. Opara doesn't have money. Yes, and I went to the primaries. The current senator who's representing the Central, I gave him money. He told me, gave him money, 30 million, 35 million. They were giving delegates 200,000 naira from Central, from Yaka, Abi, Ikom, Boki, Obobra, and Etum. And they said that the delegates were aware of the fact that I am the one who deserved to represent them. They didn't vote for me. They voted for my opponent, who was Speaker in Cross River State, and a lot of mess was done under the previous government. They didn't vote for me. Nigerians were collecting 100,000, 200,000. So you can see why I say Nigeria is endemically corrupt. The people are corrupt. These same people who loot Nigeria are the ones that are favorable to Nigerians to vote for if they want to go, if they want to acquire political power. So that is the paradox of Nigeria. The petrol attendants, the Uber man, this morning, one Uber guy, I ordered Uber, I saw 1,600 naira, and the guy was telling me I should pay 2,000 naira. I said, why? He said, no, because this and that, he was trying to make excuses. I said, look, I won't pay 2,000. What I was told to pay you is 1,600 naira. So we Nigerians are not ready to fight corruption. If we are ready to fight corruption, we know what to do. But we romance with these people. Somebody will go to the National Assembly, he will go on oversight functions, muzzle ministries, departments, universities. During budget presentation, they say, okay, VC, you have to bring 30 million naira, 2 billion naira, otherwise you will not pass your budget. After that, they will share the money, and then they will come here, they will buy rice, they will buy this and call it empowerment program. And all of us will be jumping and clapping for them. The young people will go on Facebook and start celebrating things. A legislator is not supposed to indulge in empowerment. A legislator is supposed to be an anti-corruption fighter. because they place the best place to fight corruption is National Assembly. The National Assembly appropriates money. That's the best place to fight corruption. But all the senators and members of the House of Reps are very rich. Some of them, we know them, they are brothers. They had nothing before they went to Abuja, but today they are very, very, very rich in a very stupendous manner. And we don't ask questions. In other countries, they will ask you, where did you make your money to buy an SUV? Or to build one massive house in state housing. You will build one in Calabar, build in Lagos, build in Kano, and then buy some overseas. And we know, everybody was deriding me that Opara is very stupid. He's a poor man. He had an opportunity to make money, and he thought he would be the one to clean Nigeria. People still say it to me. So where is the patriotism? Where is the patriotism? If you do something good and you expect Nigerians to clap for you, they deride you. That is the paradox of Nigeria. So we have a lot to do. If we want clean government, we the people must look for it, must ask for it, must fight for it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, it is true that the strength of a man starts from the mindset. I'll move on to the panelists. We have a lot to talk about, but I will try to make it as fast and snappy as I can. I would like to start with Mrs. Grace. It's true that being an educationist and being someone that has done a lot of research, they say Nigeria is a country filled with paper and no actions. Now, who do we hold accountable for that? Like he said, it's the mindset of the people. But the people are being pushed by one or two reasons because the power starts from the top. So if we say the top is good, like my mother would say, if the head is good, the neck will be good. So if there's a problem on top, definitely there will be problem below. So who do we hold accountable? The people or the government?
Thank you very much. Okay, good afternoon once again. Who do we hold responsible on the issue of corruption, right? The people, the masses, or the people at the top? Well, I will say the blame cannot be shifted to only one side. It's a collective issue. Now, I will start from where the chief stopped. He said something about how his people derided him because they were expecting that he should have empowered the whole of Yaka local government because he had an assignment to perform at Abuja. Now, let's look at it this way. Who are the people getting chieftaincy titles, awards of honor, recognitions? They won't give it to you if you're not going to give them money. They won't give you chieftaincy title in your village if you're not going to give them money. They won't even give you chieftaincy title if they're not seeing you perform money-wise. It will shock you to realize that even when they are calling you for a chieftaincy title or for an award of honor, maybe recognizing you have done some things, they are expecting that you should drop something. That is how low we have descended in Nigeria. Even I work in the university community. You will see that students are calling you for an award, and they are expecting that you will not just collect that award and go, that you will drop something, even as a lecturer. That is how bad it is. So if I am going to be honored only because I have money to give, then I have to work for the money. The kind of money I'm going to give the people is not the money that will come from my salary. You will agree with me. The kind of money I'm going to donate to the community, make the boys happy with, it's not the money it's not the kind of money my salary will generate. Except maybe I'm some business tycoon. So it means when I assume an office, I'm going to have to look for a way to get the money that will make my people happy, so that they will give me some awards, so that I will get a chieftaincy title, so that I will get some recognition. So you realize that there is a cultural dimension to this. The people push the leaders to go into corruption. Now, he is strong enough to withstand the taunting that came from his people. But not everybody is going to be able to withstand that. So in order to make everybody happy, you're going to have to steal some monies and store up somewhere, so that when you go to the village, you make the boys happy. And you realize that next time, if there's an event, that man that is walking clean, nobody will look in his direction. They will literally come with bands of people singing, celebrating you, because you gave them money. Where did the money come from? You stole them. So you realize that from the very communities where we come from, the people in authority, the people in leadership, are pressed to the wall to engage in embezzlement, to engage in corruption, in order to be able to acquire the funds with which to satisfy all the elements. And of course, there is that general wantonness, that human dimension. You know, while he was talking there, he said something that people make themselves feel they are immortal. You know, you feel you can acquire and acquire and acquire. And you don't even ask yourself, how much longer do I have to live? As I am here, I don't think I can live more than 40 years more. That is reality. So if I have an opportunity, why not I impact on lives rather than acquire houses that will even become obsolete? But there is that desire, that human nature that, you know, has an insatiable desire for wealth, for the things of this life. And except you have come to the point where you realize that these things, you will not even live forever to have them. That it is even better to build lives than to acquire. You will see yourself stealing and wanting to keep for yourself and for your children, and build and build. And you realize that in the next 10 years, your children will not even want to live in those houses. Your children will not even want to drive those cars. They will have better cars. There will be new designs of buildings. There will be new technology. So the human nature that is insatiable is responsible. And then there's a cultural dimension that pushes people to acquire, not for themselves necessarily, but to satisfy where you're coming from, to avoid being derided, and to attract honor as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ma, for that. I would like to note that while you were speaking, there was an agreement between everybody that what you said was correct. But Mr. Richard, I want to know, do you have a different opinion from where Mrs. Grace stands? Do you think that it is this insatiable nature of man, or would you still think that there are people we should hold accountable?
Okay, well, let me start by saying I hold a different view, because the whole idea of governance is to address problems. Okay, so the fundamental reasons for which they're elected is not to give excuse or to continue the problem, but to address the problem. So I'm going to hold the leaders accountable first. Now, there's always that temptation to want to blame victims, okay, for what I call showing the characteristics of victims. One of the characteristics of victims is to depend on those who are oppressing you, or those who basically stole from you, okay? So I won't blame citizens for corruption. I'll blame our leaders. the sad thing here is that they don't even recognize why corruption shouldn't be the order of the day. Okay, because if you look at the country today, keeping people poor simply means not having people who can challenge you. That's just the truth about it. So I won't exonerate the leaders of the country and blame the ordinary citizens. For instance, you don't work in AFCC, okay? And you're depending on the mandates, you're depending on the authority and the laws, basically that's established EFCC and the people who run that institution to fight corruption. So if at the end of the day, people in EFCC, for instance, are not allowed to operate, the question is that who basically stopped them from operating? The poor man in Mariam Markets or the woman somewhere in Ojo Elegba? No. The people stopping even EFCC from going after those who are responsible for some of the corruptions we have, it's the people in power. That's the truth. Why Chief was actually talking here, he made it clear that people were supposed to actually support him to fight against corruption, and basically they were the ones telling him, don't fight corruption. In fact, they even deceived him. It's not bad. You can now say the person who deceived him happens to be one young man somewhere driving keke. No. So what you're seeing with victims, citizens going to meet these politicians, buying down to them, getting part of the money, because they don't have alternative in the real sense, and they need to survive. So for me, I think it's a shame, to be honest with you, that we have leaders that basically want to reduce as a citizens to nothing. Go down, there are local governments in across the states you go to, they don't have electricity for the last 7 years. Today, you can't, it's no longer a thing where you say the federal government must come give you electricity in your local community. The state can actually do that. The question is that why is that not happening? If you want to look at the heart of it, it's the corruption. And you cannot blame the ordinary boy somewhere in Akamba or somewhere in Lesogoja for not having this thing. So I won't really blame the citizens. But let me also quickly state this. We look at the research by PricewaterhouseCoopers. They made it clear that less than 5 years from now, corruptions will be responsible for about 1/3 of the overall GDP of the country. Now, that is even scary. That's the truth about it. It simply means currently we have less than 400 billion in terms of what one estimates of the Nigerian GDP. Imagine somebody coming around to take over 100 as in billion, as in dollar from that money. It simply means you're not going to have enough money to fund your education. And that's what we're saying right now, because there's an attempt to defund the education system. And the reason is not because we don't have enough money, but because we just feel we don't need to actually use the money to do the right thing. Some person just want to move the money. And that's why he's saying the third form going by 2030. Even the so-called tax reform, as in that they are pushing around. Yes, it's true. We're saying we want to see how we can actually get people not to pay much tax for those who are earning less. Okay, that's a good argument, but it has always been around. It's not something new. Why are you going after the third form? That's legal corruption about to be passed into law. What that simply means in the research by 2030, when no money going to third fund, who funds those as in infrastructure, who funds the research programs, who funds the publication, who funds all these things? Nobody. That simply means if you want to actually do research in that field, you have to spend so much. Now the question is, are they really consulting Nigerians? Are Nigerians agreeing to the funding of third fund? No. They are just going around saying this is the position they want to take. So you can't now blame the citizens for this abnormality. In fact, let me quickly chip this in. 4 years ago, we went to Abuja as regard the petroleum industry bill. And when we got to the National Assembly, they gave us seat, they said we should sit down and all of that. Here with our memorandum, we actually gave our talk on that memorandum, make an argument as regard how to actually as an address the issue of liberation in the Niger Delta. They listened to everything we said, they didn't care. To pass the bill into law. Today, the crisis in Niger Delta is still there. I would have addressed the issue, but still do corruption. Not as if they claim we are calling for public hearing. We did when they were public hearing. We didn't listen to anything we said. So these are the fundamental issues. Just like INEC did, for instance. You said you're going to transmit the results, and the next thing you said, the reason why you cannot transmit the results is because you're afraid that some persons are going to hack into the system. And you're telling us just a few days to the transmission of results. These are all legal corruptions. You cannot blame as in the poor Nigerians who are fighting poverty, their local residents, for this disorder we have in the country.
Okay, well said. As your moderator, it is my responsibility to make sure that every perspective is being taken and every word is acknowledged. And we will take a step down to the economical part of the nature. Now, Nigeria as a country in the whole West Africa has one of its biggest economy, yet poverty and unemployment remains very high. The ranking is not going down, it's not going up. We are just somewhere in between. In fact, very soon, if we're not careful, everybody will suddenly become unemployed because the private sector is not funny, neither is the government or the civil servant having it very easy either. So as an economist, a renowned one at that, what is your suggestion? And I'm talking about creating solutions. I know we all know how to talk about the problems, but we notice that when we talk about the problem, solutions are not drawn out of it. So the purpose of this is for every solution or every problem we talk about, there should be a solution at hand. So as a renowned economist, what do you think Nigeria as a country should do to impact the economy, moving us away from poverty, far away from poverty, and making us have more jobs and industries for people to work in?
Yeah, thank you very much. Is something that we need some sort of structural reforms in every facet of our life. Remember that in those days, we used to have strategic development plans. That every government, these development plans is developed for every sector. Every government that comes, pick low-hanging fruit from those development plans and implement. That is why we had refineries, universities, and many things, motorways that was working. You can remember that in the 70s, 80s, you can virtually drive all over Nigeria without bad roads. And the quality of those infrastructure were there. So we have soft and hard infrastructure that should support development and are growth enablers. So if we don't painstakingly develop these growth enablers, and in a way to do that, there must be efficiency in governance, efficiency in the utilization and use of our natural resource, which mostly, like with what we depend on, is non-renewable. Your gas, your oil is non-renewable. As you're using them, you cannot bring them back. So these are enablers to develop percent of what we generate, and it's because it's rental income. That is why you see people having income. It becomes even an industry itself, and it becomes very difficult to break. So we need to basically bring back our national strategic development plans, and that not because what we see now is that every governor, every president comes and does whatever he wants to do and go away. The next governor is now struggling to catch up with what was done and trying to do, for instance, in Cross River, under Donaldio. Not that he was a perfect man, but he developed certain things that we saw. Tourism, Tinapa, we had good roads network, we had a clean city, and things were coming. Another governor came, tried to maintain them, but we were here when we saw that you cannot even drive in state housing anymore because of potholes. But we have another one who is trying to, instead of moving forward, is bringing back the money he would have used to move forward, is using the money back to fix what was not fixed before. So we are just like galloping in, galloping out. Every governor comes and does whatever he likes. Every commissioner comes and does whatever he's like. There's no strategic plan to say that this is what we want to be in the next 10 years. This is where we want to be in the next 20 years. This is what we want to be in the next 30 years. And we, every governor that comes, every president that comes, key into that strategic plan. that is developed by experts. And we have this strategic development plan. But people come, jettison them, and nothing happens. That is why we are talking about institutions. Where are institutions? Everybody depends on what the governor says. Everybody depends on what the president says, whether it is good or bad. If you are a senator, you are better than any medical doctor. You are better than any architecture. It becomes an engineer, it becomes everything. So we need to sit down as a country. We have these plans, but how do we implement them? The problem is that we must devise a way of electing credible because he does not know me. But I spent my money for him to win here. I didn't know him. And he won here. So we must develop a way that, because if a leader does not have with strategic, measurable indicators of performance, if we don't have a process, that process, innovative, efficient, and trustworthy process that we select quality individuals to lead us, we'll just be dancing, and then we just sit down and wait till the time that people say that let us pray. But I've not seen where prayer is good, but I've not seen country that develop that sat down to pray. And otherwise, China will not develop. So, but I know that prayer, personal prayer is good. But God has given us wisdom. God has given us knowledge, discernment, and understanding. Go. Provide what is basic for all of you. Now, let me tell you something, just to conclude. If we don't devise a way of having a good reward system and punitive system, nothing will happen. Let me tell you what happens. In my experience, little experience in governance, somebody is employed in a civil service. They call it marking of time until he becomes director. When he becomes director, he say, now your time be this. So after this, now retirement. Because why? The money you pay civil servants, public servants, in the next 20 years, they will never buy a car. They will never build a house. So impoverished people, at a certain stage, they are retiring. It is an opportunity beckons on them to see how they can create rental income for themselves. If you don't have a reward system that if somebody enters the public service as a graduate, that in the next 5-10 years, he can get mortgage and get his house, he can get a loan and get a car, he can train his children from his permanent income, then he will begin to wait for transitory income. And when that transitory income comes, it becomes rental income. So we must have a good rewarding system. Otherwise, the man will only wait when he becomes director. Every other thing, he has to improve himself. And the reward system has to be even after retirement. Remember that people queue up for pension and they die. And you think that when their children see their father queuing up to die on that pension, you say you will not be corrupt. So these are things that we must strategically put into our system. And that only boils down to electing quality leadership. Thank you.
Well said, well said. Now let's come down to the journalist in the house. Information, they say, is power. As he said, wisdom is profitable to direct. Information too has the power to make or mar a nation. And when I mean that, it means the information that we put outside has the way to attract foreign investors back to our country. Everybody knows there's just this, I don't want to call it a stigma, but there's a stereotype that once a Nigerian is involved in something, even, they said, even going to heaven, there is corner inside. I want to ask, as a journalist, being the ears and the mouths of the nation, how do you think it's important for real information or information to come down to journalism? Not disputing the fact that we are in the fight for journalists to be able to walk into somewhere with proper identification and be able to get correct information. What do you think journalism would be a few years from now in fighting corruption?
Thank you so much. Before I accepted to sit here, I thought of two things. One, I work for the government media. I work with Voice of Nigeria. Of the government media, we receive full government subvention. So in other words, I am gagged. That is, I don't have to put that on the ground. I am gagged because he who is paying the pipe back, I play, is already dictating the thing. And just like we call Chief Ogobla, we call him Comrade as well. Just like Comrade said, he worked for the government who appointed him to act as an arbiter. And he was gagged. That's the word I've used. So already I'm gagged. But to answer your question in all honesty, we don't have freedom of the press in Nigeria. There's no freedom of expression in Nigeria. Yes, we might say we can talk, we can sit here, we talk, and we finish. Who knows who amongst us will be invited after we leave here? You know, it's one of the things most journalists and maybe other people experience. So, but you see, if there is the implementation of the Freedom of Information Act passed in 2011 by the Jonathan administration, we'll be able to go somewhere. But then if you also look at the Nigerian Constitution, because the Freedom of Information Act rests on the Nigerian Constitution, section 39, which actually guarantees that freedom of expression, and where we draw, as media organizations, we draw our strength from. But you look at other parts of the Constitution, I mean, it also debars office holders, public office holders, from divulging certain information. If you look at section 2 or article 2 in the Freedom of Information Act, it also tells you to, yes, it's there. It tells you to look at that information you're putting out there. Is it in the interest? You know, national interest. If it goes against national interest, you're not able to put it out there. So we look at that and say, okay, in Cross River State, the Freedom of Information Act is active in Nigeria as a whole, but the State House of Assembly will tell you we cannot domesticate it. And you ask, do we have to domesticate a Nigerian law? Will you domesticate international conventions and things like that? So you already see that the system itself is skewed. The system itself does not support freedom of the press. Apart from the political system, the law, you have financial or funding as part of what hinders us from doing what we really need to do. It's a challenge asking someone who is not receiving more than 50,000 naira monthly. There are some media organizations, just like he said, I actually appreciate the fact where he talked about people being paid. There are some media organizations that do not pay. And how do you get a reporter, a journalist who isn't paid to report on corruption matters? We see it, we get it, but then if the fact that I will tell that Oga that I'm about to publish something that will be damaging to you, and he's going to give me money that I'm not receiving from my organization, it affects. I'm not saying we are saints. No, we are also part of the Nigerian system. Corruption is ingrained. I mean, you go to an office, you're trying to write a report. It's something we saw today in one of the locations we went to before coming here. You have solar panels. Underneath the solar panels, they are planting the climber plants, wherever it's located, in the government premises. And you're asking yourself as a journalist, can I report the fact that these people are converting the solar panels to stems for their, it's corruption. If you look at it, it's wrong. They shouldn't do that. But then you ask yourself, will it be published? Because there is a system in place that guides you already besides yourself. Right now, I'm in management cadre. And I have to, whether I like it or not, gag myself or hold myself or censor myself. I remember when in 2022, I went for an interview, my promotion interview. And the last question I was asked at the panel was, take for instance, you're told or you know that soldiers did commit a crime somewhere. You are an editor, and the news is here, is fresh, is hot, and you witnessed it. Will you go to press with that? I had to calculate very well before I said, gave my reply. And what I said was, if the public relations officer of the Nigerian army does not use his mouth to tell me that soldiers committed crime somewhere, I will not publish. So it is that ingrained. How do we surmount that? What's the way forward for us? First of all, I would say our organizations, I will not talk about the state or government-owned organizations, are owners of media organizations because they also have an impact on how we report and what we do. Owners of media organizations should pay good money. Don't pay me up to maybe 500,000 or 400,000, and then my colleague can't boast of 20,000. I'm not saying 200, 20,000 to go home with at the end of the month. It's wrong. So media owners have to pay good money. You find out, you ask us, some people compare us to BBC, to CNN reporters. They're being funded from their organizations. They are funded to hotel bills, to the money they use to buy drinks for whoever they're going to meet. They're funded. I went to Yenagua for the coverage of one of these elections. And I had to sleep in a hotel where the mosquitoes were really biting. But my BBC correspondent was in a very big hotel, fully furnished AC. In the afternoon, when I needed to send my reports, I had to, please, can I tag along with you so that I can charge my laptop and work there? He said, no, I want to rest, stay in the bar. I sat down there, I sent my story, I looked at myself, I said, Amen. What do you do? Nothing, I need the job, you get. So when we think about fighting corruption, ganging up or working with others to fight corruption, there are a lot of things we think about. The financial aspect, our own personal safety, our own emotional state. And then you want to do the right thing, but you ask yourself, how can you do it? However, thanks to organizations like the ones he belongs to, and there are other organizations that actually come out now to support journalists. We form a kind of coalition. So those organizations, most of them are foreign, sponsor investigative journalists. Give out money, say, okay, what do you want to work on? Or they tell you, please, can you go investigate the oil sector? Investigate what is happening in the mining sector. And then they give you the money, the funds to do that. But, that is not sustainable because there are times you can't get that grant. Take, for instance, I went on an investigation to Ogoni. I went to Ogoni land, Voice of Nigeria, where I had work, we cover South Zone. So that was part of where I had to go to. I got funding from the Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism. And I went to Bodo in, I think it's Gokana or so, local government. I can't remember, some 4 years ago. So, but on arriving there, I had to investigate High Prep, what High Prep was doing. Because the UNEP report had said, look, the Nigerian government, you have to do certain things to make Ogoniland come back, the people enjoy. I went there, did the investigations, spoke to the people, spoke to Mosop. I came back, I couldn't publish that story because it was not in support of the government. It wasn't in favor of the government. You get? But somehow, because I was in partnership with the Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism, I could, do that report and send it to some of the organizations they asked me to send, that I could publish that report in. I didn't use my name. I had to use a pseudonym and get that report published to show that the federal government, Osibanjo, went there, did groundbreaking for the cleanup of Ogoni, and then left. And since he left, he's no more in government, but we're still here. Nothing has actually started there. So you see, it's a bit difficult, but then with those type of people will work. So moving forward, if those are, how would I say, the numeration is done, the government is relaxing on its law or on the laws or implementing the Freedom of Information Act, it will be easy for us to do some work, but then we hope for the best and pray that we don't sink, but we're able to.
Yes, it's important that we do not sink because I do not know how to swim. So if we are sinking, I think I will hold on to Chief. Chief, we'll swim out together.
That is, we have to decide what we want. Where do we want to be in the next 50 years? Do we want a country that lacks infrastructure? Do we want a country that is, racked by poverty, granted poverty, scandalous poverty? Do we want our young people to be living Nigeria under the cloak of Japan? So why don't we want to make our country as Dubai? The first secondary school in Dubai was constructed in 1969. Opara Training Studio in Calabar was established in 1896. Now, so you can, look, I was also investigating a case involving 69 billion US. That was stolen crude oil. The crude oil stolen from Nigeria and taken to the US. And the money was kept in a Texan bank, including $9 billion that a one-time national security advisor stole. He later died in a helicopter plane crash. And I did a memo to President Buhari because the United States firm, the law firm that wrote to me, they wanted us to pay some money, $50 million US, that if we do that, they will give us the accounts of that bank where this total 69 billion US was. And I wrote to the Mr. President. The letter was received in the villa. And I don't think that letter was given to him. But later, the Attorney General Malami knows my wife. He saw my wife and he said, your husband is measuring up to us. He doesn't know that this is our government. This is our government. He was alluding to the fact that maybe I'm not from Northern Nigeria. But when we were fighting for Buhari, they didn't care where you come from. But he was saying it's their government that I said I was going to recover that money. If I recovered the money, when you didn't give me the environment to recover that money, so why did you use that to taunt me? So these are all the things we see. If we want Nigeria to sink or swim, we have to decide. The people, the power belongs to us. And then organizations like National Association of Sea Dogs must come out of their cocoon. They are intellectuals. And they have the ability, they have the capacity to take over this country and run it in accordance with the vision and philosophy of living. It doesn't matter. They have tribes in UK. They scout people, the West, and so forth and so on. In Russia, they don't call them tribes. They call us tribes, which is a misnomer. Anthropologically, sociologically, historically, you cannot call an ethnic group tribe. The Igbo people are over 50 million. The Yorubas are in Nigeria, Benin, everywhere. I am a Koi, Ejagam, yeah, in Cameroon and Congo, and people are there. So how can you call the Ejagam people tribe? Because they want to call us tribe so that they will put us there to show that we are inferior people. And we don't want to carry out the colonization of Nigerians. If it to change our language, we use tribe. You cannot call the people that is over 500,000 or even 200,000 a tribe. A tribe is clan level. So that is
making and development. Let's look at the youth participation in policy development. Do you think that this government have done well to build up the trust of the youth to enable them believe in policies that this country make and stand by it? And that is one part of the question. Now, the second part of the question is, in building transparency, accountability, how do we get the youth involved in it? And I'm talking from making reference to the last presidential election. There was a massive engagement of youth in election in the history of Nigeria. But it didn't turn out the way it was meant to be. And now the youth have somehow withdrawn themselves. We saw videos of people breaking their PVC, destroying them, throwing them, and even setting them ablaze. That alone is an indication that they have given up on the country. How do we somehow get them back on track?
And you call or you intend to do one of these three things. Okay, or sometimes he might even decide the policies good. Policy needs some adjustments. You're supposed to then we We also have what we call policies as in termination. Policy
A blast now, let me and you remain here. Make a blast now, let me and you remain here. Make a blast now, let me and you remain here.
Thank you, the guest speaker, Nance Capone. My name is Chinedu Oga. I'm a politician, Federal House of Rep member. I want to take it in the note where you accuse politician. That is the angle I want to come up. Politicians are not corrupt. If you listen to me, those that are corrupt are those most of you here that are written. Any politician that were elected by the people of his people must definitely do what is just. But if you allow a few people to pick your name in a hotel and file your name, such person will definitely be corrupt. I use myself as a case study. Are you telling us that are corrupt when most of the people in the rural area mount a pressure on every politician every day, demanding one thing or the other? By the situation, such politician refuse to oblige, such person will start facing blackmail. Who is corrupt? Is it the masses demanding from politician or the politician? And you will go extra mile to do just by doing what those people are demanding from you. From my own personal analysis, the greatest corrupt people on this earth are civil servants. Example, yes. We do budgets. For a contract to be executed, you must give 5% to those civil servants. When a Sharpie job is done, a civil servant will pass it. When a road construction is awarded, they will go back to do variation. Is it politician? In a market, a businessman will now go to the backyard to mix ordinary drinks in order to make money. It's not corruption. You send a child to the market to buy ordinary crayfish and he could not return balance to you. It's not corruption. So, a way forward is that we that are parents, we should stop being on the fence. We enjoy crossover because we have one of us there as executive. There is no any person in this fraternity that been into elected position that disappointed this fraternity because he's always look forward to do what is just. Our major issue, if we really want to change the narrative, based on what they said, Nigeria's future and the impact of the corruption in social, political, economy. Our brother here, where he was penalized because he stand by the truth. How many of us stood up to challenge when he was being penalized if we really fighting for corruption? We could not raise up to say, this thing they are now punishing him is not right. And we continue keeping quiet. It's a high time we should stop being on the fence and do the needful. Thank you.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ibiang Samson, and it's my honor and privilege to be here. Before I continue, as an Ogepman who is well-raised, I would like to recognize my father, my mentor, my leader, Chief Mbisame. I've listened to Chief, I've listened to the honorable member. For those of us who don't know him, his elder brother, Samson Oka, who is my namesake. It's not the word. Okay. Oh, sorry about that. My bad, honorable. My bad. All right. So I've listened to everybody, and like my other brother there spoke, and he did quite a nice job. I want to also disagree with Mr. Richard. Each and every one of us, first and foremost, is a product of a family, and then the society. Our political leaders were members of families or are members of families before the larger society itself. What we see is a product of what is coming from our homes before it gets to the society, before public offices. And I'll tell you why. While I was in secondary school, I was considered as one of the best students in my class. And I have a father and elder brothers that I look up to as mentors. They never, not for once, asked my dad for money to go and sort anything while they were writing their WAEC or junior WAEC. We have parents in this country who send their children to special centers. That is corruption. It brings me to the statement I want to make, that by default, I think Nigerians are corrupt. Or maybe even human beings generally, by default, we are corrupt. Because it takes a huge amount of discipline. The same demonstrated by Chief Okoye Obongobla. Because as an Ogep man that lives in Abuja, I'm currently doing a postgraduate program here at the University of Calabar. That's why I'm in Calabar. Ordinarily, I live in Abuja. So I saw firsthand how Chief was derided. I witnessed firsthand how people from Ogep ridiculed him. What is said here is a fact. Ogep is a collective of the larger society itself. And this is a community. If you go there, I can tell you for free that there were a lot of people Chief has helped, even before getting to that height as a politician and as a public servant. But these same people derided him. They called him names. They said all sorts of things. Chief is not standing alone. Honorable here also has attested to that fact. So, every politician is a product of the family and the society. So we need to fix that. NAS as an association was founded by Nigerians who felt the need to fight against oppression, to fight against everything that negates the growth of the human race. So sometimes it actually pains me when I see Nigerians actually, kneeling for public office holders. Don't get me wrong, honor is due to whoever honor is due. But if you're a public servant, I'm sorry to say this, I know this might not go down well with a lot of people. You owe me, I'm your boss. You are not my boss as a public servant. Your Excellency, my Deputy Governor, when he walked in here, demonstrated that. He recognized the fact that we are his employees. He is not our boss. We hired him. And after 4 years, we can review his KPI. And if he's not doing well, we tell him and his boss, please go. That is how it should be. That is the norm in civilized societies. So it's laughable, to be honest, that when a governor commissions a road, which is a responsibility we asked him to go and carry, and then we sing glory, glory, hallelujah for the governor. What do you expect him to be? He develops a semi-godlike attitude when he sees the people who employed him now chanting his praise. So I want to urge each and every one of us here that we should go back and imbibe the spirit that necessitated the formation of the Pirates Confraternity, which is to fight against oppression. Thank you very much.
Okay, please, I would have to just take one more reaction, and after that.
Thank you very much. My name is Ntabe Peter Abang, and I want to say a big thank you to the NAS organization for putting together this wonderful event. Today, I'm very much excited because of two special people sitting on the panel today. The distinguished Professor Etuk, who 17 years ago taught me at the University of Calabar. In my sophomore year, I took a walk around the campus and decided to ask random people questions. And I asked them, if you were given the opportunity to be governor of Cross River State today, what would you do? The vast majority of the people, the young people, we were about 18 or 20, 19 years at the time. And they said, if I was governor of Cross River State or president of Nigeria, I would first steal. This is what the average student said. So I said this to say that the buck passing we are doing isn't right. When the question you asked, Madam, to the panelist was, what is responsible? Who is responsible for this corruption? And Mr. Inoyo, Richard, right? You said it's the politician. And I beg to differ. Professor Etuk said we cannot point fingers to the masses or to the politicians because it's a vicious circle. We have to go back and look at how this country was first founded. The people who established this country, David Cameron, his people who called us fantastically corrupt, they established this country as an extractive country for them, industry for them, their company, and they left it that way. It remained extractive. And Nigerians have learned that system. The best way forward is to look at China. 200 years ago, Napoleon Bonaparte said, let China sleep, but when she wakes up, she will shake the world. And about 35 or 30 years ago, China woke up and decided to be #1 in the world. And today they have become that. So what we need is inclusive institutions. Institutions, not strong men. Strong institutions, not strong men. Because without strong institutions, our chief, Obla, will continue going through the same problems he went through, fighting corruption. And as the former minister, Okonjo-Iweala, said in her book, fighting corruption is dangerous. And I'm excited and happy that you're still strong, sir, and still going. So finally, like I said, it is not just one way. It is a two-way thing. It's a vicious circle. And our politicians have learned to weaponize hunger. They weaponize hunger, they weaponize poverty, they weaponize illiteracy. So I'm going to finalize by saying what my brother here said is we all come from a house and we all represent that house. So unless we build these strong institutions, we are not making any way. We need to learn to take responsibility for actions. This is one thing Africans don't take responsibility for. They'll tell you about how Europe underdeveloped Africa. They'll tell you about how Europe bought slaves and sold us as slaves. But they'll never tell you that we took part in the slave trade, transatlantic slave trade, and sold slaves. We sold ourselves. So we need now to stop buck passing and take responsibility. And if we are lucky, none of us here will be alive by the time this country begins to work. It will be in 40 years' time or 50 years' time. If we are serious, that's the only way we'll make progress. And that progress is for the next generation. Thank you very much.
Sink or swim. Mine is not a question, but I want to very honestly commend the deputy governor. This is the first time I'm seeing a Nigerian politician this humble. Unfortunately, the reps member is gone out. I think he's whipping sentiment. I would have expected him not to be hasty in his defense of the politicians. About 70% of our pain is politicians. I want to apologize to Chief Okoye Obula. I was one of those people. I'm a journalist. My name is Comrade Amao. Publish your episode news and then have a program on Radio 2. I was one of those Nigerians or maybe Crossovarians who actually came very hard on you. I am very sorry. I did many publications. You are somebody that Crossovarians need to be given an award and maybe be apologetic to. Especially when you were, I think, against Onogen. Or begin to ask a question, why will a Crossovarian want to bring down his brother? But today, you've let the cat off the bag. I want to know you more. I think you need to, I don't know if you have an academy to see how you train people, begin to pass this knowledge to them. Thank you so very much, sir.
The media came so hard on me. They didn't know what I was passing through. The National Assembly fought me because for the first time in the history of Nigeria, I took on members of the House National Assembly who had property in UK. So everybody fought me. The oil sector. Look, I arrested a friend of the vice president, Femi Badonjo. He was the MD of Hydrocarbon Nigeria Limited. And I was investigating the despicable corruption in the oil and gas industry. So the company had oil block or has oil block, and they were not paying. They were owing about $3 million US. So I went for the director, the Femi, who I learned is a pastor in Redeemed Church. Yes. I arrested him, put him under custody. The first phone call I had was my brother, Udodoma, Minister for National Planning. He said, Obla, please, that man is our friend. Release him. I said, no. If we arrest you, you have to bring a shorty who is a level 16 officer. So that is our procedure. If he brings that shorty, I will release him. Of course, I didn't release him. The next day, the deputy chief of staff to the president called me 10 times. I refused to pick. I know where he was going. He sent one lady, Dr. Mrs. Waziri, from the State House, that she should come and see me. She came to my office. I said, the deputy chief of staff has been calling you. I said, yeah. I said, no, my phone was under charge. And I said, what's the problem? He said, oh, please, release me Badojo. He's a friend of the government. Of course, I refused to release him. So these are all the challenges we had. And the media that is supposed to be friendly towards me, to protect me, they didn't protect me. They left me to the Buccaneers. Yeah, I would have died. They would have killed me. The plan was that they should poison me. I ran away. I left the country. People thought I had studied so much that I ran away. No, a friend of mine from Edo State, he was aware of what I was passing through because he went to the chief security officer of the vice president and they told him, well, so you know Obla, because the man was his father's classmate in NDA. He said, look, that man will deal with him, tell him to. So he bought, fortunately I had visa. I left Nigeria, went to Ghana, and he bought tickets for me to fly to Casablanca, Morocco. From there, I went to the United States. I was there for 6 months. I didn't want to come back. But one emir, the emir of Daura, he was aware of what I was passing through. He convinced me to return back to Nigeria. In the government that was fighting corruption, you refused to protect Obla and Magu. Magu left. That he was a victim of electoral commissioner in his state, collected money. I arrested him. And the first thing, when he heard my son in Mobongo, he said, oh, your brother Mark was vice president. or I would have collected regime to come and play deal with me. I would have collected maybe 200 people, but I refused because I wanted to give them pay that money. Because when I left, all the cases are investigated, but I don't know what he did with the cases. The Attorney General. And people tell me they will not appoint you again. That everybody is afraid of you. You see, I corrupt Nigerians are. People are telling me that they will never appoint me in government because people are afraid of me. They are afraid of me. I'm harmless. But you know, see dogs. I want to see dogs. I had to open up. I went to Chandel to talk to Shayu. Yes, I went to the Sun newspaper to tell transpired. And some people didn't want me to talk. Even my sister-in-law say, "Oh, you don't love your wife." I was working in
I don't the things my friend. I think that the honest man. If he shows me that does something that shows that he's not an honest person, I will take him on. Yes, I'll take him on. So that is it. So we need competent people, we need courageous people, not only having those institutions. Look, I compare a list of people who did not, public servants, who did not declare their assets properly. I went to the chairman of the Code of Conduct Group, Professor Idris Mohammed. I handed it over to him after I had done all the investigation. Because that is the way to discover corrupt people, asset declaration. When you are entering government, you fill the form. You declare your assets, your wife's assets, your children's assets, the money you have in the bank, everything. And when you are leaving, you do the same thing. So if the code of conduct is functioning properly, what the code of conduct needs to do is look at the asset declaration form when you enter government and when you are leaving government. Investigate. Because every politician or everybody who takes money will acquire assets. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Put your hands together for Akila Speaker. Thank you.
Yes, having had all this reaction, it's safe to say that we have people that believe in the system of Nigeria and moving it forward. I would always say big shout out to every Nigerian that believes in Nigeria and is putting every effort to make sure that Nigeria gets into a better place. And yes, thank you very much to all our panelists. In your way and in your area, your diverse area, you have given us all we need to know for us to move Nigeria forward. Oh, yes, yes. I think there was a question that wasn't answered. And yes, your question, please.
Let me just quickly attend to a question, but also I just want to appeal to everyone here. While we're leaving, let's have in mind that one of the biggest drivers of corruption in this country is the plea bargain. The fact that somebody will steal, let's say, 50 billion, and the court will tell the person to return 5 billion. As long as we have that kind of vision in our culture against corruption, we can never defeat corruption. Simply means you just take 50 billion, you ask to bring 5 billion, and that is it. So I think we need to do something about that. And so for those who are in power, who can actually fight, let's see how we can actually pass the Whistleblowers Act. Very important. Up to now, it's still at the National Assembly, we're yet to get as in progress in that direction. Then lastly, as regards to what the lady said, I feel it's up to your conscience. Let them know for me, I'll just tell them there is no need trying to get as a give me part of the share. You can keep it and all. You see, I believe that just like someone said, the weapon you actually need in this life is truth. Today, Chief can actually call me and say is the same because he believes strongly in his heart. He didn't take money from anyone. If he was taking money, he would have been scared because he knows someone will just go and tell him, this is the money I gave to you some time ago, and we're coming for you. You know, so once you're clean, you don't really have much worry. But the very moment you're allowed to be compromised, I can guarantee you, they'll keep compromising you again and again and again.
And yes, before we bring this panel to a conclusion, I would like to reintroduce all my panelists. We have Mrs. Amen of Yon, yes, I hope I'm doing correct, and Mr. Enna, a very renowned economist, or Professor, yes, apologies, Professor Enna, and we also have Mrs. Grace Ruben. It's good to see you. Professor, Professor Grace Ruben, it's good to see you again, Ma. And Mr. Richard Neuer. I know that we will meet in the station. And also to the keynote speaker, thank you very much for taking our time to unveil a lot that we Nigerians did not know, because I'm sure most of the things you heard today, you have never heard it before in your life. So yes, thank you very much for joining us. And with that, we bring the panel.
All right, may I kindly request that the NAS International President and First Mate step forward for a quick photograph with our panelists. Panelists, please, you can come down for a quick photograph with the NAS International President and First Mate. Prof, please. Should I do it up here or down here? Up? Okay, okay, just still. Prof, please. Oh, school runs. Prof, just 1 minute, Prof. Thank you very much indeed. Nas Capone, thank you. And Nas First Mate. Quick photograph with the panelists. Please do not go, we've got information for you. Please do not go. Please do not go, we've got information for you. Dave Wanko, I see you. Please do not go, I've got information for you. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. National Vice President is about to speak. Can you start it out, please? National anthem very quickly. DJ, national anthem. Can everyone stay in their positions as we take the national anthem? Thank you very much. On behalf of the organizing committee of the 16th edition of the Ralph Opara Memorial Lecture with the theme Sing or Swim, and on behalf of the moderator of today's event, Mrs. Victoria Ike, I'd like to say thank you so very much indeed.
They say when they go to your house, you don't get down from. They or you to me.